The Business of Art, brought to you by the Video Department. So how long have you officially been in this space?
We have been in this space, since July, end of July.
Great. End of July, so we are recording this on August 28th, so about a month.
Literally about a month. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it looks great for only being in here for a month. You guys must have really hustled to put it together.
We did. It was insanity, and I love to tell a story because it makes for a good joke now. But when I moved into this space, I did not realize, I unlocked it from the front and I came in, but you also have to unlock it from the inside. So I walked back out to my car to go get a box of things and completely locked us out in 110-degree weather for a solid 2 hours.
That is amazing. I feel like I heard that story from Carter, actually.
It was... I'm thankful that I truly just had this it just is what it is right now. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But everyone was sweating. My husband's best friend came and literally we picked the lock in the back to get it.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane.
And this is day one?
Day one. We hadn't even moved a single box in yet. My keys were just sitting right over here. Yep. So learn the hard way, have to unlock it from the inside.
There is something about kind of getting it out of the way, though.
Right. Now I know. Trust me. Now we know.
You don't have to lose sleep over that because it already happened.
But we moved everything in within a couple of hours, and we're eating pizza, laying on the floor, enjoying air conditioning by that afternoon. So
amazing.
It was a good day.
And if you're just tuning in, which you would be because it's a podcast, so you start at the beginning, this is Kate Stiles of Kate Stiles Photography. This is not on the radio, so you're not just joining in the middle of a conversation. We're just practicing a little soft start here. But yeah, Kate, thank you for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much for asking. I'm so delighted to be here.
Yeah. Kate and I have only met recently, but we discovered that we have common interests, common goals, common, I would say, concepts for how to build up this community.
I would absolutely agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So typically, we just sort of start at the beginning. Tell me where you grew up and what your childhood was was it around here?
Are we going to do childhood trauma? Yeah. I'm just kidding.
If you want to.
I'm just kidding. No, I actually just grew up right here in Chester until I was 9. My parents then moved to Midlothian. Woo! It's so exciting.
The city.
Yeah, right? More suburby than this. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere here. But yeah, I was homeschooled most of my life, didn't go to school until high school. And my mom ran a dance studio for a couple of years. And I got married very early, right out of high school, I got married. So me and my husband have been married for over 12 years now. We have 3 kids. But yeah, so I had a very basic, normal childhood, nothing crazy. I had both my parents. They did divorce when I was 15, 16, and that was very messy. Mm-hmm. But I was almost an adult at that point. So yeah, nothing crazy, I have to say. No trauma to dig through right now.
Your mom's dance studio, what was that called?
When she took over, it was called Bon Air Dance.
Okay.
And then that quickly transitioned into River City Dance for a couple of years.
Okay.
Now she's retired from that. She actually is her own business in physical therapy.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, quick, hard twist. But yeah, she's great. She's amazing at what she does.
That is a twist that makes very good sense to me. I've only done physical therapy once in my life for my shoulder. But based on what we're saying, can you guess where I did it?
It was your rotator cuff?
It was not my rotator cuff. It was my labrum. But
okay, that was going to be my next guess.
Can you guess where I did the physical therapy?
No.
Richmond Ballet.
No way.
Yes.
Stop. How funny is that?
Yeah, so they have their own physical therapy department.
I did not realize they did that.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed, but it would go hand in hand.
Exactly. And it literally, they accepted my insurance and everything, and it was just the one that was closest. I literally lived on Main Street about 5 blocks away when this happened, so it was great for me.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, I could just walk to my physical therapy.
That's awesome.
And it was my shoulder, so I could walk. But it was great because I would go in there and I would see, I follow the art scene, so I like know some of the dancers just from like social media and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, they're in here like getting stretched out and stuff while I'm
You're
like,
oh hey, you're also getting stretched out.
I've got the ball like up against the wall, like trying to, you know what I mean?
They're probably looking at you like, oh yeah, we do that too.
But my physical therapist was really great. I told her that the most important thing for me was I wanted to get back out on the golf course, and she like did some research and like designed an exercise for me.
What a great physical therapist.
Yeah, she was great.
That's really cool.
She was great. Yeah. So did you grow up in the studio?
Oh yeah. I spent almost all of my middle school and 80% of my high school, like from the studio from 3 p.m. until 10 or 11 p.m. Many, many nights there. And like, I told my mom, now that I'm a business owner with children, I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom, had we just left you alone to get your work done, we probably would have left by 9 p.m. But instead we just kept interrupting her and asking for things and like being there. And I just remember her being like, just leave me alone. So
That is so funny.
now I'm like, I get it, Mom. I'm sorry.
So are your kids here with you sometimes?
Oh yeah. My kids come into the studio a lot. Carter and Megan will laugh because you can always tell when they've been in here. Especially when they were littler. My 3-year-old would like put lipstick on and then go kiss herself in the mirror. And so they would come in and just see like lipstick and like handprint marks on the mirror. And they'd be like, Emily was here.
That's so funny.
But yeah, they're used to being in here. They know what they can and can't play with at this point.
Yeah.
And they just have a blast. And Megan has kids that are younger than mine, so she brings hers in here, and mine just keep hers entertained now. And Carter just is there to help guide them around.
I don't think I've met Megan yet.
Probably not. Megan does a lot more behind the scenes for the studio. She is she basically keeps my life straight on the back end. Me and Carter both. So
I'm looking for one of those.
Yeah, she's great. Honestly, just feel free to chat with her. She is a graphic designer. She answers all the emails for us for the majority, gets all of our products ordered together, shipped out. I mean, she keeps us straight. I could not breathe without her. She was hired before Carter because I needed help. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So it was you, then you and Megan, now
Yep.
you, Megan, and Carter.
Now me and Megan and Carter. There were a couple in between spaces where we had somebody in and it just quite wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
But it has been me, Megan, and Carter for, gosh, like 2 years now.
I'm asking out of self-interest, when you made the decision that it wasn't the right fit, was it something that you initiated or they initiated?
It was something I watched for a long time and was recognizing and finding the right, like that was the straw that broke the camel's back. This is not a good fit anymore.
Gotcha.
It happened twice, and both times it was not a fun conversation.
No.
Because I truly always want the best for people. And the cool part about being in this space is that like the only limits are the ones that you give yourself. Truly, I always tell the girls, I'm like, there's no ceiling here. It can go as high as you want it to, but it's a matter of how much you invest in it. And it was just two people who you knew that they wanted it, but were not ready to take the fear and the leaps of pushing themselves a little bit more. So, and that's okay. That takes time and growth too, but sometimes we have to hustle a little harder.
Do you think, like, from a hiring perspective, there was something that you could have maybe foresaw in them, like a quality that maybe like, maybe you overlooked something and you shouldn't have overlooked that, or was it just over time it just didn't work out?
It could be either. I will be honest. I could have absolutely overlooked something.
Sure,
I mean,
of course. You don't know what you don't know.
But I don't feel like it was like a red flag from the beginning
Right.
of, wow, this is not going to work, but let's see how it rolls.
Right.
It was definitely very much cool. Your energy fits very well with this space. Like, let's move forward. And it would be like certain things weren't getting done anymore. The trainings weren't happening as requested. And after a while, you just start it. For the first one, it was one of those. I actually had a client come to me who's a return client over and over and was like, hey, this seemed really not as kind as normally it is and is like genuine, because I am learning that we set a standard to our service that is not normal. The girls are supposed to know their clients by name, period. And you call them by their name. In fact, it's a very subconsciously a big factor in what we do. And I had a client one time, the person at the time didn't even know her clients' names. And I was like, yep, that's the red flag. No more. If you're not prepped and ready for who's coming in for the day, it's not a good sign. So we thankfully both times parted ways easily. Yeah. It wasn't anything atrocious. And it gave me some learning things too on what can I do better as a boss. So it turned out well.
Anything you care to share about what you could do better as a boss?
I definitely learned the second time, after the first time, starting in the second time, there needed to be a better structure of, hey, on week 1, this is what you're going to go through. On week 2, this is what you're going to go through. By the end of, like month 2, you should be comfortable doing X, Y, and Z, and really giving them like a task checklist to go through as far as training purposes. The hard part about what we do is that so much of it is client analysis, I guess you could say. I strive so hard to serve our clients to the utmost potential that you have to learn how to talk to people. And sometimes that doesn't come naturally. Sometimes you have to learn, okay, I have to speak with confidence. I can't talk like this or no one's going to take me seriously. Learning those particular traits. And thankfully, I have so many tools that I've acquired over the past 10 years that I can go, okay, hey, I want you to go through these modules in this course. And I learned from the first one, like that has to be something that needs to be spelled out, like in writing, the A, B, and C. So that is one thing I definitely learned. And I find it funny, the studio here, that the team that we have now, they are so awesome at being alpha. And they're so awesome at letting me be the boss at the same time, if that makes sense. You can ask them too. I never tell them no ever, unless it's something that I know I'm like, you're shorting yourself. We can be bigger than this. It's the only time I've ever told them no. So that is definitely something I've learned as a boss. Other than that, I'm really hands-on. I'm always a phone call away. So those aren't things I short on. But yeah, so that was something I've learned going forward.
I think especially when you're I think technically micro business, right? Isn't that like less than 5 employees or less than, might even be more than that considered micro? I am a micro business.
Yeah, I think you're correct because we have 4 people on payroll, 2 people on contract.
Okay.
Yeah, so 6 in total.
And so you really have to have buy-in from everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of communication across the board. Everyone has to know we're on the same page. Carter is literally, I tell her this all the time, like, you're just incredible with your communication, which is probably one of the reasons Carter has just soared doing this in here. Honestly, having Carter and Megan together has given me the chance to step back because I know that they got it.
Right.
And they're not only taking care of their own thing, but they're making sure everyone else is on board too. Just because of all the moving components that we have with one singular photo shoot. So.
How did you find Carter?
She'll probably tell you too. I mentored Carter for maybe 6 months to a year, just like off and on. And Carter came in for a mentoring session and she said, I don't know if you're looking to hire another photographer or not. Cause at the time Megan was also shooting a lot too. And she said, I don't know if you're looking to hire another photographer, but I'd be really interested. So I said, okay, let's meet for coffee and I'd like to hear what you're thinking and I can tell you what I can present to you. If it sounds like a good fit, we can move forward. And we met for coffee and we kind of laid out the plan and she said, I'm in. And it took about a year after that for all of the training to kind of be completed. And Carter really took initiative in she went above and beyond. So she worked her full-time job and worked for me. And I kid you not, she worked so much. I want to say she worked like 7 days a week for like 6 months straight. And I was like, are you going to breathe? She brought in her own models to practice on because Carter actually ran her own photography business, but she was a lifestyle photographer outside. Studio lighting was not a thing. Also, when you work for me, you use my equipment. And Carter was a Nikon shooter and I shot Canon, which, mind you, they're like apples to oranges in some ways, but learning how to shoot that. So Carter had to really completely remap herself on everything, but she knew she wanted it. And now Carter runs at the same pace I do. It's incredible. So that's how Carter kind of came on board, is she actually said, hey, look, I'm interested in this. And she's been with me for 2 years, and I couldn't imagine her not being here.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Foster that relationship.
Yeah.
She's great.
She is wonderful. Literally, I tell her this all the time. And for me as a boss, it's really good. I try to learn my team's love languages purposely, because I know that I can foster that better. Yeah. So it's very helpful. Carter and I have the same love language. It's words of affirmation. Okay. So I'll just send her this lengthy thing of how wonderful she is. And she's like, oh, and she'll do the same for me, and I'll be in tears. It's great.
Well, I just want to say you're doing a great job on this podcast so far.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let me hair flip. Okay, thanks. Feeding into that love language. Got it.
Well, let's go back. So where did you go to college?
I did not.
Okay.
Nope. I did for like 2 semesters.
Yeah.
Didn't have any college debt or anything.
Yeah.
I don't recommend college. I really don't. I mean, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, right, absolutely, please go to college. You have to. But if you don't know what you want to do at 18, please don't submit yourself to all of this student debt. Take the time to figure out other career paths. Honestly, had I known about some career paths now that I know about at 18, I would have just taken those classes and done that. So, yeah, no college.
I was just telling my wife yesterday, if I had, instead of going to college, if I had become an electrician's apprentice.
Right.
Because specifically I am entrepreneur minded.
Yes.
And if I had become an electrician's apprentice, become a master electrician, started my business by the time I'm 25, we would be millionaires right now.
Literally. Okay.
Like multimillionaires.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. My husband and I actually have had that same conversation with that alone. Like electrician, HVAC, and plumbing are things people constantly need. So you're never going to not have business.
No. And similarly, and like a mechanic. And if you find a good one, do not let them go. Exactly.
And then when you find a good one, you recommend them to all your friends and family, and now he's servicing all of them. Like I have my HVAC company I use, and I'm friends with him, and I like literally call his personal phone now.
No, nice. Who's your HVAC company? I'm just curious.
I'm just going to plug in here. Incredible HVAC is who we use. Cool. They're a smaller business, and I so appreciate their communication. And just honesty of everything. They're like, look, I can do this for you, or you can go get it and I can install it for you and save you like $300. Right. And I'm like, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. But that honesty is what keeps me with them, and just the friendliness and the kindness. So,
well, we should chat offline because we're looking for an HVAC person in our B&I group.
Oh, look, I already invited him to mine.
Are you in B&I or 212?
I'm in 212. Okay. But yeah.
What did he say?
He was open to the idea of
the problem with HVAC people is they'll need to double their staff to handle the influx of business that would come from.
Correct. Literally
everyone needs them.
Everyone needs them, and it's hard to find a good one that seems reliable.
Yes. And they're so easy to refer.
Yes, trust me. So incredible HVACs we use, Michael in particular.
All right, I won't steal them.
You can steal them.
I'm going to reach out to you.
You can steal them. It's fine. It's fine. Just tell him I sent you.
Yeah, no, for sure. So when did photography come into your life?
I took photography classes in middle school.
Okay.
And then in high school, this is always a very funny story. My parents obviously were in the middle of divorce, so they could not afford senior photos for me. So I thought, I'm going to get a camera and I'm just going to take some of myself, and I'll have my friend take some of me, and I'll take some of my friend, and we'll just like make it an adventure. And that adventure exploded. I started marketing online, saying like, hey, look, I'll do your photos. I was very much a shoot and burn. Highly recommend not starting there. But if you're timid like I was and had no clue you could make a living off of this, start there.
What is that? Shoot and burn?
Shoot and burn. So it literally means that you go and take a whole bunch of photos, and you take all the good ones and you give them to your customer for like $50.
Right.
What did that cover? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But at the time I was like 18, like $50 is like, oh, I can go to the movies,
And so are you saying you do or don't recommend starting that way?
I don't.
You slipped a
I
little
don't.
bit there.
I don't. And so I don't recommend starting there. However,
Mm-hmm.
I did not understand money at that time. So if you're curious to learn about money and you want to make money, don't start there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started there in high school, shooting for like $50.
What were you shooting on?
A little Canon DSLR.
Okay.
Like nothing.
Like a T3i
like,
or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
one of those Rebels.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Rebel.
Yeah, one of the Rebels. Everyone always starts on a Rebel, like $300.
So was this like around the, what was it, the 50D or 5D craze?
So
the Canon 5D
yeah,
Mark
I
III?
remember when the 5D Mark II and Mark III
Yeah.
like became massive, and I was like,
Yeah.
I want one of those so bad. So my focus was, okay, I'm going to save enough money.
Yeah.
I have a 5D Mark III still over there.
Well, I remember that the famous story was Lena Dunham shot her first movie on, I think it was the Canon 60D.
I used to have a
Yeah.
60D. Yeah,
I
those
think
were
she
pretty
shot her
cool.
first movie on that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was my first big purchase.
Yeah.
And then I went from a 60D. This was like in 2011, 12. And then in 2012, I finally got my 5D Mark III.
Okay.
And I like thought I was the coolest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And then mirrorless came out, and like it's been collecting dust since.
So what do you shoot with now?
I shoot with the R5 mirrorless, and I have 3 of them.
Is this
now.
Canon?
Yeah, it's a Canon.
So you're a brand loyalist?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit. Although I did shoot on a Sony, and those things are dope.
Yeah, Sonys are awesome.
The Sony mirrorless like shocked me.
Yeah.
I feel like Sony is kind of always just behind the game, but when they come out, it's like top notch. So yeah, they're good too.
I've shot a fair amount on Canon. These are all video cameras, but I've done 5D and 60D, but most of my stuff, well, right now I'm Panasonic, so I'm the GH3 mirrorless, Micro Four Thirds, and I'm GH3, GH4, GH5S, GH6. This is the GH5S
You're
right now.
loyalist right now.
I'm a loyalist. The GH7's coming out next year, I
I have an
think.
addiction. I admit. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's about lenses.
no, you and I. You don't have to tell me. I know that.
I'm starting a new service. I'm plugging on the pod. Starting a new service where I'm going into companies and teaching them how to better edit, better shoot, whatever it is that they need to do for their marketing departments.
Yes.
And somebody
Talk
pulled
to me.
out a Nikon. I think I wrote it down somewhere, but a Nikon. And so I was like looking up the specs of it, and I was like, it still is only in HD. It's not even in 4K. So I was
Oh my
like, we can't
God.
even use this.
Right.
Like, it's not even relevant today. It's 3, if not 4 generations behind in terms of like
Wow.
my camera's shooting 6K. The GH7 is going to be 8K. Like,
Wow. And you can't even put those two together.
and it doesn't have a input for audio. Like, so
oh my gosh.
but they've got some lenses. So I'm like, here's the question. Do we continue in the Nikon family since you've already got a few lenses? They're not great. They're kind of just like the stock lenses. Or do we like just start from scratch? And regardless, in the meantime, the answer is shoot with your phone. Because
oh my gosh, if that is not the truth, look, phones have come so far, and there's something to be said, because I don't know if you get this, but we get this sometimes. We're like, well, I can just have my friend take the photos on the phone. I'm like, you're right. You absolutely can.
100%.
You 100% can. It's about the experience of it
Right.
more than it is anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get that a lot.
Yeah.
I just do it with my phone. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Your phone's going to take some fabulous photos. I will
Amazing.
not deny that.
Yeah.
But what I can do and what you can do are very separate things with it.
Right, exactly. And yeah, there was some concern when I'm starting to like launch this that like I would be training myself out of work. But again, that's what I always come back to is like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like whatever I bring to the table, I'm not going to be able to teach them, even if they sign up for
Right.
4, 5, 6
Absolutely.
sessions.
And at the end of the day, they're not you.
And if at the end of the day they do become amazing, great. Like I'll actually feel really good about that. Like,
Right, you did
I'm
something.
Not, I'm not too worried about it. If they take a job for me, so be it. So I used to be worried about that stuff a lot more, but now it's like I'm on a group chat with a few other videographers, and we're all sort of in the same like level of success, I would say.
I love that.
And it's just
almost like
nice.
a little accountability group in a way.
It's full of gear, as you would imagine. It's like, oh, I got this. Did you see this thing just came out?
I love it. I love it. That's good to know that videography group kind of has like a community over competition feel.
Yeah, the videography group does. I don't know how much that is with like video production, which I kind of account as a separate thing because those companies get so big.
Yeah, that's fair.
They get so big. And once you get, 20 plus employees, it's just all about them feeding the machine.
Yes, absolutely. Keeping the gears rolling and oiled. So yeah, 100%.
So when did you, and if there was a specific lesson, I would love to hear it. What did you call the fire sale? What did you call it? The shoot and fire?
The shoot and burn. When did I go from shoot and burn to actually making a living?
Well, yeah. Like what was the connection for you?
So for me personally, I had a mentor photographer at the time who, Sharon Hudley, was incredible. She was 6, almost 7 figures, mentored with her. And she looked at my work one day and she said, Kate, you should really look at Sue Bryce. And so I said, okay. She's like, her style is a lot more like yours. I had no idea the rabbit hole that would send me down. So I looked up Sue Bryce. She had a whole program and it was like $299 for the year. And I was like, signing up, I can do this. And this was in 2018. Either I was pregnant with my daughter or I just had her. I can't quite remember because when you have kids, your lines get blurred. I remember being up until like 3 o'clock in the morning though, the amount of content she had I couldn't keep up. And I was so lit. When you get excited about something, and I have ADHD, so like hyperfixation was at a max. I was practicing every day, learning how to shoot with strobes. And she has a specific area to talk about money, which became my total fascination of learning about money. I grew up with parents where we kind of had no more, no less. Like we didn't live poorly. We didn't live richly. Like we didn't really go out to eat, but you always knew the mortgage was paid and there was some food in the fridge. There was 4 of us. So, so learning about money for me was always you go get a 9-to-5 job, and not knowing that there is this whole world of money out there and you just have to ask for it. And learning that providing an equal exchange of value to service to money was a mindset thing. It had nothing to do. I could have been a terrible photographer, but if I thought my work was thebomb.com and I also said, look, this is the best thing ever, and someone said, you're right, it is, and handed me $1,500, it was all about what I thought about it. And that led, probably 6 months in, I made my first $1,000 sale. And that's when I went from shoot and burn to actually showing my clients edited images and going, okay. And I want to say at the time they were like $150 per image. And it was the most mind-blowing thing in the world to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I can contribute to this household and actually make good money for us to survive. Not this, okay, I've done 4 sessions and I can maybe go to the grocery store now. It was a complete mindset change. So that was 2018. Going into 2019 is the rolling of Kate Styles Photography becoming what it is now. I focused mainly on boudoir. I didn't mean to, but it's what I fell in love with doing. Plug in, I love shooting half naked women, even though I'm straight, I swear. That's everyone's biggest joke. I love giving women a space to meet the vulnerability with, oh my gosh, this is really cool. And I look incredible and I feel so confident, even though I'm in this space where I'm like semi-shaking in my boots, and looking at images of yourself in a way that you really haven't been able to see yourself in a long time. So I really fell in love with that realm. That's always been my love since 2018, 2019. And I made my first 6 figures in 2020.
Wow.
So, and I shot this all out of the second, like my guest room and my garage. Like I didn't have anything fancy. Literally when I was shooting in the garage, you had to like come into my house and step over my children and goldfish to like use the bathroom. And I was making $2,000 and $3,000 sales in my garage. So anytime I meet somebody, they're like, well, I would love to do that, but whenever I hear the but, I'm like, that's your mind though. It's just your mindset. Like you can have a thriving business out of your garage. Like I'm proof and point of that.
Yeah.
So So that's what started the whole snowball of transferring out of shoot and burn to this IPS system that we use now.
IPS?
IPS stands for in-person sales.
Okay.
So now in business in 2024, before you even book me, you see our prices. We go over the entire experience with you on the phone because it's completely tailored to each individual. Your story is not the same as your wife's, as the same as your sister's. So each one of these clients gets an experience that's completely tailored to them, all the way down to their favorite colors, their snacks, the things that we do in the studio is completely individualized. And then they get to look at their images on our TV before they leave and choose the ones that they want to take home. Yeah.
So what were some tools, tactics that you used to go from, the $150 an image to being a six-figure business?
Sucking it up and just saying it. There are so many things that you learn when talking about money that really scare people. I don't know. Some of the tactics that I like to use they're called money blocks, is what we refer to them as. And I talk to my team about money blocks all the time. I mentor on money blocks simply because I search for money blocks within myself at this point. And learning where you're actually turning away money from yourself. So like if you want to charge $1,000 for a photo shoot, what is stopping you from charging what you want to make? Or better yet, like if you come to me and say, Kate, I want to make six figures this year, I say, okay, how much is that per month? And we break down per month. And then I go, how many clients do you want this month? And you tell me how many clients. I'm like, cool, this is how much per client you need to get to this milestone. And if that number amount scares you, there's a block right there we have to work through. Like if it seems like I'm not going to amount to that, I'm not going to no one's going to pay that money. I hate to break it to you, but there's so much money in the world. There is so much money in the world, and we just have to ask for it. So learning that it was okay to ask for equal exchange of service to value. And one thing I always ask people is, if you don't feel like people are going to pay for this, why? Build a service that you would pay that money for. And that's what really transformed me from going to A to B is I was like, if I'm going to spend $4,000 and $5,000, $6,000 on a photo shoot, I want it so tailored to me that I felt like this person knew me from the beginning. And so that's what we do is we get to know you. We talk to you on the phone for probably 45 minutes the first time we talk. And then the second time is normally almost an hour. And that's where we really get into the nitty gritty. People cry in here. It's like a very transformative, healing feeling. But if I were the client, I would want everything done for me. I don't want to raise a finger. I want to feel like I'm completely transformed into this goddess and just waltzed out the door with the red carpet.
Right.
So that was totally a mindset change that I had to do. So that's what I coach my mentees through, my clients through, or I'm sorry, my staff through, is how much do you want to make? And if that's scary to you, then we have to figure out why it's scary to you and break those barriers down. And a lot of times those barriers are actually built when we're between the ages of like 0 and 8 years old. So it's how your parents talked about money. It's how the church talks about money. It's the people around you, how they talk about money. If they talk about it like we don't have enough, if they talk about it, if you have too much, you're evil, or you need to make sure you're donating it to the church, or you're greedy. All of those things kind of can come into play with running a business.
Got so many things to follow up on.
Sorry, I just gave you a lot.
Have there been any books or other mentors that have taught you some of these lessons?
Oh yeah. So I'm a fanatic book reader. I love reading about psychology of sales and money. So I can tell you my favorite book that I read that really was like, whoa. I feel like, I don't know if you agree with this, but did your parents ever tell you like you should have no debt, work on paying off your debt?
I mean, I listen to Dave Ramsey.
Okay, yeah. Well, I agree with like this much of what Dave Ramsey says. Sorry if he ends up tuning in here.
Oh.
He'll probably call me and cuss me out.
Amazing. I want to be here for that.
I agree somewhat with what Dave Ramsey says, but I actually disagree with some things that he also has to say. I don't think that having a car payment is a bad idea as long as it's within reason. Because at the end of the day, if I work my tail off and pay for a car in cash and then I go and get an accident, I just started from square one now. Right. So technically having a car payment is a liability or it's an asset in my opinion. I'm sorry, not a liability. It's an asset because you have to drive from point A to point B. And if I go in and pay $10,000 for a car and I crash it a week later, I guarantee you the insurance is not going to give me $10,000. I also think that having a mortgage debt is a fabulous thing as long as it's working for you and not against you. I don't agree that you should be house poor. You should have enough equity in your house for certain things. But I learned all of those things through Robert Kiyosaki. Garrett Gunderson are two people. You can go YouTube them and see for yourself. But those were two books that I read that really changed my mindset on assets versus liabilities, as well as I feel like it's coming back around now, but life insurance policies are actually also a great way to pilot your life. So looking into those things and recognizing how you probably think or were taught about money is not how everyone was taught about money. Because I had this like epiphany one day. I was like, I highly doubt the way that I was taught about money is how Bill Gates was taught about money or his children were taught about money. So learning that there's more to money than what I know and being open to the idea of changing my perspective on it.
And there was like no right way of thinking, like, you know what I mean? Like there you could have the Kiyosaki.
Totally so far down in debt, but has so many like assets. It's ridiculous.
Right. And then like, and then there's the Dave Ramsey, who's at least preaching the other side of that.
Correct.
And
they are totally opposite.
He is very wealthy, so it's easier for him to give this advice.
Right.
But I mean, I think that general his his baby step program or whatever is very common sense.
It absolutely is. I agree with you. And I do think that there should be a practice if you feel like you are so far down in the debt hole that you can't breathe. I usually always say, check out Dave Ramsey's baby step theories. Usually if you're lower to middle class, like lower middle class, that would be my recommendation, is to start there. Get yourself out of credit card debt. Pay that down. Get yourself an emergency fund. I was always taught from day one, you take your paycheck and you take 10% and put it in a savings account. My sister-in-law was never taught that. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
No.
And getting you on that snowball effect, as Dave Ramsey talks about. Once you're out of, in my opinion, credit card debt and student loan debt, then, I mean, if you want to continue on to pay off your cars and larger things, go for it. I know for me, though, I kind of disagreed with that, but it doesn't mean it was the wrong decision. I just chose to go this way.
Right, and especially if your income is not at the level you want it to be, or as is the case with self-employed person, is unpredictable.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, it can be. Absolutely. Which is why that emergency fund is so important.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, me and my husband is the penny pincher between the two of us. I'm the one that'll be like, whatever, we'll figure, like, I've done the math, we'll be fine. He's like, no, we're not going to do that. So, it's all about finding what works for you. And truthfully, I always like joke that I should be like a financial advisor in my past life or something.
Yeah,
I really enjoy talking about helping people build a life that makes sense for them. And I was listening to a podcast, and I wish I could tell you what it was, but I remember him saying, if you're not willing to dumb down your life to the bare minimum for 1 year, you care more about what people think about you than you are about getting your life better. And that like spoke volumes to me. In America, we always have this, you need to go get your own house. You need to have a nice house. Like, they don't talk about there's nothing wrong with living in a trailer for 1 year while you are stashing away as much money as possible to buy assets that are going to be money generating. So just my thoughts on that.
We were looking for a studio space recently, and I feel like video is way more of a gear chasing game than photography.
Probably.
Because you get into gimbals and you get into the lighting. The lighting instruments are different, and
video lighting is the best lighting, might I add.
Yeah,
I love some video lighting in the evening.
It's no, for sure. It's, I mean, that's the kind of the point, is that it's like, it's just so much more complicated because you're recording everything that's happening.
Right.
And so I was briefly, we at one point had a contract on in place. I'm glad it fell through because it wasn't the right fit for us. But I was talking to a guy I know who works at a bank about like just what a loan would look like. Mm-hmm. And he really was great. Jeff at Village Bank was his name.
Yay.
And
Go Jeff.
Yeah. And he talked me out of it. He was like, you don't want a loan right now. Mm-hmm. That was his job, was to sell me a loan. So I really appreciated that
we love people that do their jobs right.
Yes. And he was like, I was telling him like what the loan would be for, and I was anticipating there was probably going to be like maybe around $50,000 to really put permanent lighting in the studio and a grid system and stuff like that, like at least $50,000. And he was like, are these like big manufacturers you're going to be buying from? I was like, yeah. He was like, I bet you they have a payment program. So instead of taking out a loan and paying payments on the loan, just do payments on the thing. And 9 times out of 10, it'll be interest free, at least for a long period of time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, you're a genius.
You're like, thank you.
That is so smart. And it's like if you piece things together that way, and another thing that is doing is that it's causing you to make relationships with these manufacturers, which you never know, later on down the line they might be like, hey, we have a new product. Would you like to demo it in your studio? Here's a free sample.
Yes.
Or like, hey, this light company, do you want to put a big sign up in my studio and you give me 50% off all of your equipment? Like, you never know. Like,
right.
And that doesn't happen if you're just like, all right, well, I'm going to take out a loan and I'm going to hire a company to do this for me.
Right.
So yeah, there's something about like being gritty, like the grit of being a business owner, and it sounds
learning those ways.
Yeah.
You don't know when you first start. You're just like winging it, and it takes someone like Jeff to be like, hey, you should check out doing this. And it's like, it just opens up doors.
Yeah. And if I ever need a business loan, I will for sure go to Jeff first.
Yeah, because he'll tell you, be like, look, dude, I think there's better things. I love a good banker when they're honest.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. I'm working with him right now in a different capacity, and I just heard his name come up, and apparently he is as well liked around Village as I like him.
Yay. Okay, Jeff, kudos.
Good job, Jeff. We love Jeff. I just like that name, Jeff. It's a great name.
It makes you think of the Toys R Us Jeffrey the giraffe.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's good.
I'm sorry.
What's your husband's name?
Brandon.
Okay, not Jeff.
No, not Jeff. Nothing super fun or fancy. He's just Brandon. He's a very 90s name.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Very 90s. Yeah. He had like, and like me, I'm Caitlin technically. So we both had like 1,001 of our names in our graduating classes.
Okay. And so hold on, let me see if I can spell Caitlin.
Okay. There's only 200 ways.
I know. And I know that it's going to start with a K.
K. Yeah, you got that.
So I'm guessing it's Katelyn.
That's how everyone wants to spell it. Ugh. I know. My parents decided, because normally if you go by Kate, that's how it's spelled.
Right.
And my friends will even joke and text my name like that. I'm like, you all know that's not how it's spelled. But my parents decided to do something wonky, and they did Kaitlyn.
Okay. No, I've seen that too.
Yeah, it's not as common, but that's how they decided to do it.
And I've seen that with a C as well.
That's normally how, if you see the IT, it's spelled with a C.
Yeah.
Typically.
And I've seen somebody go by Kate, and I'm pretty sure they spelled it
C-A-I-T. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is just Kate.
Kate. We have a little Australian. I'm just kidding.
That is a little Australian. No, I like the simplicity. It's like when Allison, my wife, when people ask her how to spell her name, her answer is the correct way.
That's right. I love this. Anyone with the name Allison, that's like I feel like a very typical response too. And Allisons like have this way about them that they're like, yeah, that I'm the queen. Thank you.
Oh, have you met my wife?
No, but her name gives it away.
You two would get along for sure.
I love it.
All right, so coming up towards the end of our time, couple more questions. What do you see for the future of Kate Styles Photography?
So great that you asked me about that. So the girls and I have each one of us has our own goals, and then we have team goals. So our goal for next year is to hit over 500,000 in total, which is honestly, like, I don't even know if I'm pushing myself enough to say that. I probably should go higher, but over 500,000. As long as it's over 500,000, I'll be happy. And then we have actually really discussed, if we hit that milestone before the end of the year, what we would like to do is take a girls' trip out of the country. Carter has never been out of the country traveling. So she has said she would really love to do that. And I was like, well, I love to travel. So we've talked about that being one of the big goals for next year. 10-year goal. I've started applying more to teach at conferences. I'll still be photographing. I can't ever not do this. It's just in my blood. But I can see myself photographing less and going around to travel and teaching more and doing speaking conferences for business owners who really are looking for, okay, what's my next step? What's my next mindset thought? And knowing that I can walk into those spaces going, okay, I've done it and I can help. And I hope these nuggets will give you something to go off of. So that's kind of the next steps.
And you guys have different like departments, right? Like there's wedding and there's the lifestyle and boudoir.
Yep. So the nice part is we're all encompassing, but each one of us has our own niche. So I mainly do boudoir, and women over the age of 40 is typically where I fall, but mainly boudoir. Carter does branding, and then women who are also over 40. And then Megan takes on our weddings and our seniors. Weddings, she's really pretty much known for, but she just started dabbling in the senior market and has a couple photo shoots coming up she's excited about.
Is there, I don't want to say priority, but is there like a plan to like focus on one or two over the others, or is it just whatever comes?
Because each of us prioritizes our own niche, they each are kind of prioritized in their own fashion or facet, if you will. So because Carter loves her branding stuff, Carter really pushes her branding stuff when she networks in markets. And Megan is in charge of her networking for weddings and seniors as far as like booking expos and stuff. I just have to be known so I can budget for whatever they're looking for. But right now, if you really wanted to ask me, my focus would be to get Megan shooting up and coming again. She took a hiatus because of her child and taking care of the baby, which I love that we can do that here. But she really wants to get to photographing again. So I'll probably prioritize pushing her now that Carter is doing her thing.
And the last question that I ask all of our guests, and you've already given so much wisdom, so don't feel like it's inappropriate to repeat yourself. But what advice would you give to young photographers or other people in adjacent industries as they're getting their start and want to become a professional?
Oh gosh, such a loaded question.
We got time.
Such a loaded question. It starts with you. It always starts with you. You are the number one person that is going to make or break your business. And if you're scared, if you don't know, go find somebody else that's already doing it and say, hey, can you teach me? That's going to be the number one place to start. Don't be afraid to be the person that asks 1,000 questions. That's what you want.
Excellent. Asking 1,000 questions. How do you find a mentor?
Honestly, Instagram, ask. I cannot talk enough about manifesting something. So if you want something, start talking about it to everybody you know. Start being like, yeah, I really want to do this. I really want to mentor with a photographer that has done the thing. I really want to mentor with somebody that's already done this. And I guarantee you I want to say give it 90 days and you will have that person in your lap. You can Google them. You can Instagram them. They don't necessarily have to even be in your state. I myself have traveled to different mentors. I've sent my team to travel with different mentors. You don't have to stay within your small little town circle. 90% of the time, if you find somebody and you fall in love with what they're doing and you just simply ask them, I guarantee you they feel just as humbled for the fact that you're asking them, how did you do this? Would you recommend mentoring me? And I guarantee you they're going to say yes. Or if they're not, they're going to recommend somebody who will. You're going to find the answer if you look for it.
And you won't if you don't.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, okay, not the fact that this is the best analogy, but like the crack addict, well, how does he start, right? But he's going to find it if he wants more. So if you want to do this, just be bold and brave enough to ask the questions. You're going to find it.
Yeah. No, yeah. Not the first podcast that has ended talking about crack.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
No, just kidding.
It is it's a great analogy though, because like if you think about it, you want to have as much confidence as the homeless guy
Yeah.
hollering at you at the gas station.
No.
Like, just shoot your shot. Just do
Yeah.
it.
I love that. Kate Stiles, thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.